My name is William Kennedy. My wife is Victoria. She doesn't like being called Vicky, so everyone, including me, calls her Victoria. My family and friends call me Will, but my boss, who's a bit formal, always calls me William. We get along well, and I enjoy my job. I'm a lawyer for a management consulting and accounting firm, specializing in corporate law. I work long hours, but I have some flexibility to set my own schedule when possible. I keep up with deadlines, so my boss has no issues. Victoria works for a publishing company and does most of her work from home, editing other people's writing. She has control over her schedule, which allows her to take care of our 3 kids. We have 2 daughters, 8 and 6, and a 5-year-old son. We're a normal, busy family, juggling the kids' activities and trying to have some fun when we can. As a couple, we aim to go out at least twice a month, though we don't always manage that. I always thought Victoria was happy with our life, until recently. Besides working 60 hours a week, I was happy with her life. I figured that we had a good relationship. Our sex life was active. I made sure that I did little things to tell my wife that I loved her and recognized what she did as a wife and mother. On one of our date nights out about a year ago, that was the night that our relationship and marriage started to change. Victoria started the conversation that would change the future and tone of our lives. Honey, have you ever thought that we are missing out on some things? Jeepers, I don't know. What sort of things are you thinking about, Victoria? Well, we've fallen into a bit of a rut lately. I'm not following you, dear. What does that rut look like to you? Well, it seems that all we do lately is work and take care of the kids. We don't have time for ourselves. I thought about that and figured I knew what she was leading up to. Would you like to get away for a vacation? Just the 2 of us? We could get your folks to take the kids for a week if you want to get away to the Caribbean for some sun and the beach. We could both use a tan. That would be great, sweetie. But I had something else in mind to shake things up a bit. I was curious about what she was going to say. What are you thinking, dear? I asked. Victoria took a deep breath and began. You know how we've role-played pretending to pick up other people and have sex with them? What if we actually did that? What are you talking about? I felt my heart race, and not in a good way. Just hear me out, she said. What if we explored the idea of an open marriage? We would take it slow and see if it was for us before doing anything big and committing to anything. I was flustered, I will admit. This caught me off guard. I had no idea what to say. Think about it, Will. What if we were to find other people that are compatible with us to have sex with on an occasional basis without the complications of romantic entanglements or commitments? Think about the passion and intensity that we could bring back to our marriage and to each other. I suddenly realized that I was holding my breath and my blood pressure was rising fast. Just what are you suggesting, Victoria? You want to have an affair with another man? She smiled. It wouldn't be an affair, dear. It would be casual sex, no romantic entanglements. No relationship like our marriage, and just occasionally. Maybe a couple of times a month. That's all. What do you think? What the hell was I supposed to think? So let me get this straight. You want to go out and have sex with other men twice a month? Well, it doesn't have to be exactly twice a month, she said. It could be less or maybe more, depending on what we want. I was completely shocked, like she had hit me with a hammer. I thought for a moment. And we both get to do this? I asked. Yes, of course, she replied. We both get to enjoy the excitement. Just imagine the new things we might learn about pleasing each other that we don't do now. Think about the renewed passion we could feel for each other. I let out a deep breath. Just how would we go about this? Do you have someone in mind now that you are planning to hook up with if I agree? And right now? I don't agree, Victoria. Just think about it for a minute. We get to have sex without any commitments. It would be at a time that wouldn't interfere with each other or the kids, and we would always be there for all the things that we do now. Our family would not be affected, and our individual lives might be better off for it. As a couple, we benefit through the increase of passion that we can show to each other. In the back of my mind, I knew that something didn't add up here. Victoria always has a plan in mind for everything, and this was no different. I figured that she had too much time to fantasize about this and possibly had a man in mind that she would like to have sex with if I agreed to it. So let me get this straight one more time. You and I can each find a partner to have sex with outside our marriage? You won't get jealous or angry or offended if I have sex with another woman, and you expect me to not get offended or jealous if you have sex with another man. Is that what you want? Well, yes, that's essentially it. What do you think? Could we give it a try? I needed to get to the main issue if I wanted to find out the truth. Who was the guy she wanted to have sex with? If I agreed to this crazy idea, when would she want to start? And who did she want to start with? Who is the guy you have in mind? I asked. She was so eager for me to agree that she revealed a little too much. Well, there is a guy named Ian at the publishing company who has been asking me to go to lunch with him whenever I visit the office. He's younger than us, and others say he has a girlfriend. So, the truth was out. She liked this young guy named Ian.
So, Ian, huh?
I said. So what do you think, dear? Are you willing to be adventurous and see what new excitement we can have to make our marriage better? I still don't see how you screwing another man is going to make our marriage better. If you want better sex for us, why not see what we can do together to make it better?
With each other, not someone else.
How is adding another man to your life going to make sex with me better? I just want to know. This is about you and me, dear. Just think what new things we can bring to each other. Kind of like bringing in a consultant to give us new ideas. Why don't we just go see a sex therapist, the two of us? You having an affair with some guy doesn't sound like it will benefit me at all. Victoria was clearly having a hard time dismissing the idea of going to see a sex therapist. Honey, you'll see that my idea is a good one for us. Believe me, I would never do anything that would harm us or our marriage. This will be for both of us. I was starting to get exasperated with this talk from her. Victoria, I don't own you. I can't tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I think and what this might do to you and me and our family. But Will, this will be an adventure for both of us. Just think about how much better we can be for each other by learning from others. Victoria, this isn't like taking a night class. You're talking about sleeping with another man.
Jesus.
I got up from the table and went to the men's room to splash cold water on my face. As I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized she was up to something, and I felt she would do whatever she wanted, no matter what I said. I dried my face and hands and went back to the table. I wasn't convinced that Victoria's plan would improve our marriage. I thought it would only complicate our lives even more. We already had enough to mange without having to add in sexual liaisons with other people, even if it was agreed to beforehand. The thing for me was that I married Victoria expecting we would be only for each other. That's the thing about marriage. There is an expectation of loyalty and monogamy. At least that's what I thought. We even said it in our marriage vows.
That we would be faithful to each other.
Clearly my wife was not getting sexual satisfaction from me. That part made me depressed.
The next 2 weeks were tense between us.
She kept smiling at me with the unspoken expectation that I would suddenly blurt out my agreement with her plan. She even stepped up the normal sex routine that we had of twice a week. For a full week she wanted to have sex every night. After we put the kids to bed, she would grab my hand and lead me to the bedroom. We got into the shower and washed off the dust of the day and explored each other with her soapy hands. Victoria was sexy and fit, and clearly, she wanted to get drilled more than twice a week. Had I been ignoring her needs? When we dried off and got into bed, she was more eager than I had seen her in years. She wanted me to take her in lots of different positions that we hadn't used since before we had children. Maybe we had gotten into a rut. But was sex with others the solution to the problem? A week later, and with no more talk about an open marriage, I figured that maybe she had forgotten the whole thing as a bad idea. Maybe our increased sex was what she really wanted all along.
I was wrong.
Victoria was still screwing me every night, and after one especially hot session where she did me twice, she brought it up again. Honey, have you thought about my suggestion of giving an open marriage a try?
Oh shit.
In all honesty, I was hoping that all this extra sex was an indication that you might have decided that you didn't want to go down that road anymore. Will, sex with you these past 2 weeks or so has been great, but we have done pretty much the same thing almost every time. We need to change things up, make it more interesting. That's what I'm hoping we can learn from others. I felt disappointed that she still wanted to have sex outside our marriage. So I guess that means you still want us to have an open marriage so you can sleep with other men? My sad tone showed that I was still unhappy with that idea. Don't make it sound so cheap, Will. This is a chance for us to grow as individuals and bring back new experiences to our marriage. So, you think you're not getting the passion and excitement you want from me? It's not like that, Will. This is an opportunity for both of us to explore new things and then share them in our relationship. I think it will make us stronger as a couple. Victoria, like I told you before, I don't own you. You make decisions all the time about what you want and don't want. If this is what you truly want, then I suppose you are going to go ahead and do it, even if I am against it. Be very careful about what it is you are looking for, because there may be unintended consequences of every decision that you make.
Thank you, Will.
You'll see that this will be good for both of us. So with that little discussion, it was pretty much done. I left the bedroom to go get a drink, something strong. I knew my marriage was over and it was no use of trying to make her change her mind. So, Victoria had gotten what she wanted. A never-ending hall pass to go out and have sex with as many other men as she wanted, and there was little that I could do to dissuade her from her plan. This was just so messed up. But it was time she be ready for consequences. 1 month later, Victoria wasted no time in hooking up with Ian from her work. They were meeting 2 nights a week, and even though we had agreed that there would not be overnight stays with lovers, after the 4th rendezvous with him, she started texting me late to say that she had some wine to drink and thought she shouldn't drive.
How convenient. I told her to take a cab.
We sat down for a discussion after the kids were in bed on a Saturday to talk about what we had been doing for the last month. Victoria, we need to get a few things sorted out about this open marriage business so that we're not doing things that the other person is not comfortable with or does not agree to.
Will, what do you mean?
Well, for starters, we agreed that there wouldn't be any overnight stays. But you've stayed with Ian 4 times in the last 2 weeks. That's not what we agreed on when we started this.
I want you home at night.
I'm honestly worried about you when you're not here. You don't tell me where you're going, and that needs to stop. Are you just upset because you have to get the kids ready for school by yourself? No, the kids have nothing to do with this. This about you, your actions, and our agreement. Okay, no more overnighters.
What next?
Maybe we need to come up with a written agreement and both us acknowledge our responsibilities to each other, the kids, and as a family.
But Will, that's ridiculous. We're adults.
We can manage this easily, I suppose. But communication is, I believe, the key to making this work for us. If you keep turning your cell phone off when you are with another man, that worries me. Your safety is a big concern for me. The other big concern is protection. Is your lover using condoms?
Will?
I'm taking birth control, if that's what you're worried about. Victoria, what I'm worried about is sexually transmitted diseases. Did Ian show you a doctor's note that said he was clean of any STDs?
I didn't really ask.
Will, I'm sure that he is fine. So he's not using condoms. Does he orgasm inside you? Victoria flushed a bit at that question. Why?
Yes, he does.
So if he did have an STD and didn't tell you about it and passed it to you, then you could easily pass it to me if we ever have sex again? Victoria was silent at that question. In my mind, I already made the decision that I was not going to have sex with my wife anymore, not in this lifetime, but why should I tell her at least now? Victoria, when you made the decision that you did not want to have a monogamous marriage anymore, that decision brought responsibilities with it. Is it your intent to stop having sex with me? This had to be said.
Of course not, Will.
I love you very much. We have kids, and we want to grow old together and take care of each other. I was getting more upset with her lack of concern for both of us. I didn't know what to say next. I want to talk to Ian.
Victoria was shocked. What?
Why do you want to talk to him? I want to meet him and have a chat. I want to make sure he cares about your safety and well-being. What I really wanted was to find out if Victoria had told him the truth about our agreement and if he understood that she was having sex without expecting a romantic connection. I wasn't confident that Victoria had made that clear to Ian. She was way too secretive about what she was doing for my liking. I suspected that he was expecting things that she couldn't give him, or at least told him that she wasn't going to give him, like love. Was she in love with this guy? If she was developing feelings of love for him. It's a rare woman or man that can love 2 people in the same way. As a person develops feeling for one person, their level of intimacy and love for another will go down. That's human nature. Just the way that people are wired. I knew I had already lost my wife the day the idea of an open marriage came to her mind, and there was little I could do about it. I had not done a thing to go find my own sex partner. Frankly, it didn't interest me that much up until now. But now I was suddenly seeing a different side of my wife and figured that what was good for her should also be good for me.
6 months later.
Okay, it's now been a few months since we started living as an open marriage couple. Victoria has a full-time boyfriend. And now it was a guy named Henry that she is seeing frequently. About 5 months ago, I made a point of going to meet Ian. Victoria was against it, and the more that she balked, the more certain I was that I was going to go have a visit with him and chat about the woman that he was screwing, my wife. So one day I went to the publishing company office to find him. I knew that Victoria would be working from home that day. I went to the office, and the receptionist told me where to find Ian's cubicle. When I got there, Ian was there. I was surprised by the young man I met. He looked to be in his mid-20s, was about my height, had brown hair, and was slim. I introduced myself, and when he stood up to shake my hand, he quickly realized I was Victoria's husband and pulled his hand back fast. I wondered what that was about.
Hello, Ian.
I'm Will Kennedy, Victoria Kennedy's husband.
We need to talk.
Let's go someplace so we can talk privately. We have a lot to talk about. I motioned for him to follow me. I wasn't sure that he was going to. And rather nervously, I could tell. Maybe he thought that I was there to kick the shit out of him. My sense was that his take on his relationship with my wife was very different from mine. We went to a coffee shop and got some coffee and a croissant. I wanted him to feel relaxed enough to talk to me. So, Ian, please tell me a little about yourself. Ian was nervous for sure. It took a lot of questions to get to the truth of his understanding of the relationship that he had with Victoria and just what his expectations of her were. After some questioning, I started to get some answers out of him that revealed their true relationship. It seems that Victoria started having sex with Ian about a month before she and I had agreed to an open marriage. Ian has never used condoms. He says that he is disease-free and was willing to go see a doctor to get tested. He said that Victoria had said that our marriage was not doing well and that I was not emotionally supportive enough of her and she was contemplating separation and maybe divorce. She also told him that I was okay with her having sex with other men. Ian finally asked me if I was upset with him, and was I planning to try and get revenge against him in some way. I assured him that I wasn't going to try to hurt him. He looked more relaxed after that. I told him that from now on, he had to use condoms with Victoria, and that wasn't up for discussion. If I found out he wasn't using condoms, I would come to see him and show him how unhappy I was in a very direct way. Does your girlfriend know that you're having sex with Victoria?
What girlfriend? He replied.
Victoria is my girlfriend. I told him, Victoria said you had a girlfriend and that being with her was on top of your other relationship. He said, my last girlfriend and I broke up months ago. Victoria is my only girlfriend now. That spoke volumes about just how honest Victoria was being with me. She had lied to me about her relationship to Ian and what she saw as the future for them. Her view of the future looked very different than my view just then. A couple of nights later Victoria was really pissed at me for having gone to see Ian. Will, why the hell did you go see Ian? He says that you were pissed at him and threatened him. I was grinning inwardly. Did he tell you that I told him that he is not to have sex with you unless he uses a condom?
Yes, he did.
But condoms take all the fun out it. Why are you wanting that? We are both disease-free, for Christ's sake. She was hot under the collar now. I took the high road. Honey, I'm only looking out for your safety here. We agreed that he were going to use condoms. You agreed to that. Victoria muttered something under her breath and stormed off. We didn't talk for 2 days. When we did talk she was fuming again.
Are you happy now?
Ian has ended things with me.
I won't see him again.
That's what you really wanted, right, when you went to see him? What I wanted, dear wife, was to make sure you were safe and wouldn't get a disease that could harm or kill you. I also wanted to make sure I wouldn't catch anything from you. But I don't need to worry about that, do I? Since we haven't had sex in so long, I can't even remember the last time we did. What happened to the idea that this open marriage was supposed to be good for us and help our marriage? When is that part going to start, Victoria? I was pissed at her, and she knew it full well. Well, I hope you're happy now.
And she stormed off.
A chill descended over our marriage. It was a very quiet month. We barely talked to one another. And then it all suddenly changed. Victoria announced that she was meeting a new man. She got dressed up in her tightest see-through blouse and skirt and put on 4-inch high heels. Her hair and makeup were perfect, and she had put on a new perfume that I didn't remember her using before. Suddenly, she was as sweet as could be. She called me dear for the first time in a while, as she said that she was going out to meet someone that she met online. A large flare went off in the back of my brain. Okay, where are you going and who are you meeting? Also remember, dear, that you are expected home tonight.
And I do mean tonight, not at 4 a.m.
Things spiraled out of my control fast after that. But I did get a name, and what he did for a living, and that he was divorced. She had started out seeing Henry once a week and now after a couple of months was almost living with him. She only sleeps at home a couple of nights a week, sometimes just one, and that's usually when her lover is away for work. I think he works for a drug company, but I'm not sure since Victoria doesn't want to share much about him. I got tired of what she was doing, so I moved her things to the spare bedroom. She was surprised, but I said it would be easier if I had someone over for the night, especially since I'm the one taking care of the kids all the time. Her idea that seeing another man would bring excitement to our marriage didn't really happen. Instead, it brought a lot of drama. I was getting more and more frustrated with Victoria. I should have just divorced her a long time ago, but I didn't want the kids to grow up in a broken home. Besides, even if I leave, the kids will be left with a mother who was not with them at nights. It was a difficult time for me. I did not understand what was in her mind for wanting to screw around like this and what was going in my mind for allowing it. Yes, you were saying that I'm screwed up as well, and you would likely be right. I was way too lenient with her and her nonsense. I was doing the parenting duties without her being at home to do or share. It was noticeable with the kids, and they were wanting their mother to be around. They asked almost every day where she was and why did she have to be away so much. At first, I said that she was spending time with a friend and she would be back soon. But being around only 1 or 2 nights a week didn't give the kids comfort that she was telling them the truth when she would say that she loved them. The oldest, who was now 9, said, "Dad, why does Mom spend so much time with her friend?"
Who is her friend?
I had a hard time explaining that one. I got a call from the school one afternoon saying that the regularly scheduled parent-teacher interviews had taken place the day before and no one was there to talk about our children. The vice principal that called said that normally Victoria was there and asked if there was some problem, they would be happy to reschedule. The school had tried to call Victoria, but her phone was turned off and went to voicemail. I apologized and said that I would call back and make an appointment the next day. When I tried to call Victoria, her cell phone went right to voicemail. I left a very terse message asking why she missed the parent-teacher meeting and to call me. She didn't call for 3 days and then blew it off as unimportant. I wanted her to come home and talk to me. She agreed to come that Friday afternoon. I took the afternoon off to get ready to give her my ultimatum. On Friday, she called to say she had to cancel but would try to see me next week. She was stalling, trying to think of a work excuse. I figure her boyfriend wanted to keep her busy. The next big moment that really mattered was our daughter's birthday. Most parents make a big deal about their kids' birthdays. They are important because they show the kids that their parents love and care for them. Kids understand that. They get a present or two, they have cake and ice cream, and they usually have friends over to celebrate. My kids are no different. But when your mother forgets about your 10th birthday, you tend to notice that. I had asked Victoria a few weeks before if she was going to plan our daughter's birthday party. She initially said, "Of course I'll do what will." But there was no action and so I got on with making plans, sending out invitations to the other kids' parents, got a present that I knew my oldest daughter wanted, booked a party venue and organized food. I was keen to see if Victoria remembered.
She didn't.
My daughter was heartbroken that her mother was not even around for her birthday party. Some of the other parents asked where Victoria was and I gave a bullshit excuse about work. My daughter was crushed that her mother forgot about her birthday. I called Victoria's cell phone and when she answered I passed my phone to my daughter.
"Mom, it's me."
"Where are you?" Victoria stalled a few seconds.
"What's going on, sweetheart?"
"Mom, today is my birthday. How come you're not here? We had a party and everything."
"But why didn't you come?"
There was complete silence on the phone. My daughter thought her mother had hung up on her and handed my phone back to me. "Victoria, are you still there?" I could hear crying on the line.
"Victoria, what's going on?"
"You missed Emma's birthday." Then the phone went dead. One of the mothers in the neighborhood came over and quietly asked if everything was okay with Victoria. She hadn't seen her around lately, and I could tell she sensed that we were having problems. That night, I decided that enough was enough. Victoria wasn't interested in me or her children, so I needed to get on with a divorce. We were for all real purposes separated. Time to take this on to its conclusion. I called Victoria the next day and of course her voicemail kicked in right away. I left another terse message. "Call me please, it's urgent and important. Better yet, come to the house so we can talk." I guess using the urgent word finally got her attention because after supper that night she appeared.
"Will, what is wrong?"
"What is urgent and important? Are the kids okay?" "Hello Victoria, thanks for showing up."
"I appreciate it. We need to talk. Please sit down."
She looked at her watch as I said that. "This won't take long." "Okay, what is it you want to talk about, Will? Since you left us, the kids have been asking when you're coming home."
"Are you planning to come home, Victoria?"
"'Cause it sure looks like you have left us." "Of course I'll be back, Will. I told you before that I need to find the passion and intensity that we've lost. Once I've fulfilled that need, I'll come home. I'll be a better wife, and we'll be a family again. Just so you know, Emma cried herself to sleep the other night because you missed her birthday party. Our other 2 kids asked me if you're going to come to their birthdays." Victoria's eyes widened, and her face showed shock. How could she forget her children's birthdays? I didn't want to make things worse for her and her boyfriend. "Victoria, I've decided that I want a divorce."
"What?
"Why would you want a divorce, Will?"
I'll be home soon."
"Victoria, there is no marriage left here. You don't fulfill your duties as a wife and since you have already left the house. I cannot fulfill my duties as a husband. To start, you should never have left in the first place. I kept silent for the sake of my kids. But this has gone way too far. You moved your clothes and worked things out months ago, and you barely remember that you have children and responsibilities to them, let alone me. My lawyer has advised me that the court will see that you have abandoned our marriage and the children. But Will, I love you and the kids.
Can't you see that?
No, Victoria, I don't see any love. If you loved your husband, you would not be having sex with a different man. If you loved us so much, why did you leave us? Why did you move in with your boyfriend? You talk about bringing passion and intensity to our marriage, but that's just a joke. I am not even going to bring my kids in this discussion, as your actions have clearly displayed how much you care and love the kids born out of your own body.
The joke's on me. Haha, very funny. But I'm done.
I'm not laughing anymore. We're getting a divorce as soon as we can. So pack your things and go back to him. You're not my wife anymore, and I'm not your husband. I'm going to look for a real wife and a new mother for our kids.
But Will, we're married. I'm your wife. You're my husband.
I love you.
I don't want a divorce. Well, I do want a divorce.
I've done some homework, and the courts in this state understand and recognize when someone has abandoned the marriage. You abandoned our marriage and your children. So get out of the house. Go away back to Henry, where you clearly want to be.
I don't want you anymore.
Victoria looked surprised by the things that I said to her and slowly gathered her purse and quietly walked out the door. What I had not discussed with Victoria was that while she was living with her new boyfriend, I had started a couple of weeks ago looking for a woman that I could have fun with. Two can play at Victoria's game. I found a woman named Charlotte. She had 2 kids and her husband had walked out of their marriage for a younger woman. I went out on a date with her and my kids were very excited. The kids were in bed, but my daughter came down to the living room and wanted to know how my date went.
Sweetie, it went just great.
I had a very good time. Charlotte is a really nice person.
I like her a lot. Is she going to be our new mom?
Wow, where did that come from? 10-year-olds today know things I didn't know at that age. That's not something you need to worry about, sweetie.
Plus, this was just our first date.
I don't know if there will be a second. Dad, is Mom ever coming back? That was a tough question to answer.
I lowered my voice. I don't know.
But I do know one thing. And that is that I'm never going anywhere but right here with you and your sister and brother.
You can count on that. Thanks, Dad.
She gave me a hug and then we walked back to her room and I tucked her into bed. I went to the kitchen and got a glass of water and sat at the counter to think. My wife had pretty much abandoned her family to shack up with her lover. I had been on a date with a wonderful woman who might be my new sex buddy. I had the most fun of the last year. The sex had been fantastic. I wanted it to continue. I wanted a woman to share my life with again. Then my mind told me to slow down. Monday, I called my divorce lawyer to talk about getting on with the process. I had the financial numbers from before, so I knew pretty much what it was going to cost to divorce Victoria. It would mean digging into my retirement savings to pay her for her half of the house, and probably it would mean a small amount of alimony for a couple of years. But right now it seemed worth the cost.
It was time.
She didn't want to come back, and it was clear that she no longer wanted her children or me. I told my lawyer to go ahead and send the divorce papers. I have her address, and since she mostly works from home, it shouldn't be hard to find her. Do it, and let's end this marriage. 3 days later, there was a call at the apartment where Victoria and Henry lived. The person delivering the papers was good at getting past apartment security, so when he knocked on the door, she was the only one home. She opened the door. Victoria Kennedy, this is for you. He handed her the envelope. You have been served. Victoria was stunned by his words. She knew what the envelope contained. She slowly closed the door and took the envelope inside to the kitchen counter and sat it down. She waited for over an hour before opening it. She had been thinking about the last year and her decisions that she had made.
Were they such smart ideas?
Did she really think things through when she told her husband that she wanted to take a lover? Was Henry that much of a catch that she was willing to give up her life and children for him? The sex with him was the best that she had ever had, but was it enough? Was Will really that boring of a husband and lover that it caused her to run from him and her children? Did she dislike her old life that much to sacrifice it for Henry? Those were hard questions. She sliced open the envelope and pulled out the papers ever so carefully. It was as if she expected them to explode in her face. She read them over. Divorce, citing abandonment and infidelity. Division of marital property. Her husband, Will, would have full custody of the children, but she could have visitation rights with them, to be negotiated. Alimony of $1,000 a month for 2 years. She dropped the papers on the kitchen counter and realized, finally, oh my God, what have I done? All the lies she had told Will over the last 2 years were now coming back to hurt her. She could no longer convince herself that she could do whatever she wanted without him complaining, or that she could sleep with any man without him having a say. Victoria quickly called Will's cell phone, but it went to voicemail. She left a short message asking him to call her about some paperwork she had just received. Then she called her old home, but there was no answer there either. She decided she needed to go home and try to save her marriage. She found her car keys and purse and went out to her car. She drove to the house to find that her key no longer worked in any of the doors and that the code to get in the garage had also been changed. She went into full damage control mode. Victoria next drove to Will's office. His administrative assistant, who was aware that Victoria had left him for a lover, was quick to tell her that he was out of the office and wouldn't be back that day. Since talking to him there wasn't going to work, she had no choice but to drive back to her old house and wait for Will and the kids when they came home from school. The kids showed up from school about 4 p.m., along with their after-school sitter. The kids were openly cold to her, and her oldest flatly refused to even acknowledge her mother, other than a terse "What are you doing here?" Victoria sat in the dining room as the kids ate a snack and started their homework. She noticed that Will had redecorated since she was last there. The walls had different decorations, the curtains were new, and there were a couple of new pieces of furniture. Finally, around 5:15, they pulled into the driveway. When he came in through the back door from the garage, she jumped up to greet him. "Will, honey, I'm home, and I'm so glad you're here," she said. "We need to talk about some papers that were delivered to me today."
Great, Victoria.
"Did you sign them and bring them with you?" he asked. "I signed them before my lawyer sent them to you. I think what I'm offering is fair. And in accordance with family law and divorce law in this state. The kids are staying here with me, I'm not negotiable on that, but you can have visitation with them if you want to, and if they want to see you."
Sweetie, I'm going to come home tonight.
"I've decided that I really need you and the kids in my life again. I was wrong when I thought that I needed to find something with another person. You and the kids are all that I need.
I know that now.
I'm coming home and I will work hard to be a good wife for you and mother for our kids."
Not so fast, Victoria.
When you decided to abandon your family for Henry, you made that decision. I do recall that I tried to talk you out of it several times, but you were adamant that it was what you wanted to do. Well, you did it, and now you have to live with the consequences. So no, you're not coming back. Your home is with Henry now, so you can go home to him.
You don't live here anymore.
You haven't for a year. Victoria was quietly sobbing now, and I handed her some tissues to blow her nose. I waited for a few minutes for her to compose herself. "I think it's time for you to go. Can I see the kids?"
Please.
"Okay, I'll go get them." I went upstairs to get the kids and told them that their mother was downstairs and wanted to see them. They were unsure about seeing her, but after I explained that they didn't have to say anything if they didn't want to, they slowly followed me down to the kitchen. It had been months since they last saw their mother. Victoria smiled at them and said, "Hi kids, I need a hug from you." They all stood still and didn't move toward her. The oldest, Emma, asked, "Why did you leave us and Dad?" Victoria started crying again. "I'm coming home, kids. I've missed you all so much. I love you all so much." My daughter countered fast, "If you love us so much, why did you leave us and stay away so long?" Victoria had a shocked look on her face at that question. The answer she had was not one that she wanted to admit. That she wanted to have consequence-free sex with men other than her husband. And not worry about her family and what it would do to them. She didn't give a shit about her family, only herself. Only now was she realizing what she was losing. I jumped in, "Kids, why don't you go back upstairs? Your mother and I have a lot of things to talk about right now, and it's best if we do that with just the two of us." The kids all scowled at their mother as they left the kitchen. Emma led her sister and brother back to their rooms. I waited a couple of minutes, then began. "So are you so sure that leaving us for your boyfriend, Henry,
Was such a great idea.
I mean, did you actually believe that you could leave for so long and then come back as if nothing had changed between us at all?" I waited for her to answer but got nothing except her continued sniffling and blowing her nose. "I've started to move on, in case you didn't know that. I guess you realized it when you got the divorce papers today. You rushed over here when you saw that your family was done with your lies." There was more silence and sniffing. "You can pack up all your things that you haven't already taken. I put everything I could find into some boxes. They're all in the garage, so it should be easy for you to manage. You can ask Henry to help you with them. If there's anything else you want to take from here, just let me know. You can have whatever you want, except me and the kids." I waited another minute to see if Victoria had anything to say.
Nothing.
"I think you should go now. I don't have anything else to tell you. I don't want you back. The kids aren't keen for you to come back. You need to go home to Henry. Get your lawyer to look at the divorce papers if you want. And we can have them sort out the fine details. I got up and started to move to the front door. I opened it and waited for her to go.
Goodbye, Victoria.
She sat looking defeated for a moment, then stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out the front door. I shut the door behind her and exhaled a big breath. 3 months later, my lawyer scheduled a final meeting for us to sign the divorce documents. We did some haggling about visits with the kids, but in the end, we agreed that the kids should not be forced to visit their mother if they didn't want to. The first few visits would be supervised by grandparents, and then if things went well, Victoria would have the kids on her own for visits. The kids would decide if they wanted to see their mother. If they didn't, then a visit with her wasn't going to happen. As it turned out, they did have a couple of visits, but when they met Henry, they were not keen to go back. They thought he was creepy, and I think they have a good sense of character. My time with Charlotte grew, and we started spending more time together. We met up 2 or 3 times a week. On one of our dates, I suggested we try some activities outside of the great sex we were having. I proposed we take our kids out together. Her daughters were about the same age as my 2 youngest, and I was excited for them to meet. For our first outing, we took the kids to the zoo and had pizza afterward. It went well, and the kids got along great. And so my relationship with Charlotte went from being sex buddies to full-on dating.
A year later.
Okay, it's been a while now and lots of things have changed in my life. I'm a year older and a year wiser. I'm living with Charlotte. Or I should say the 7 of us are living together. 5 kids are a handful. They are, no matter what anyone says. We all fit in my house nicely, and with a bit of doubling up of 2 of the girls in one of the rooms, we live just fine. We have become a family. Charlotte and I got married just after we amalgamated our 2 families into one. It was a small ceremony with family and a few friends. We got married by a judge friend in Dominican Republic on a beach. It was fantastic. We have a date night once a week where we pay attention to each other, and in addition to great sex, we talk. A lot. We agreed that we need to never stop talking to one another, no matter what it is about. At dinner one night, the kids all told us that they wanted to try camping. So we got some camping equipment and gave it a try at a state park. It turned out great and the kids had a blast. The campfire and roasting marshmallows were a big hit. Several times, when the marshmallows caught fire, I saw a ball of fire heading toward my head and ducked to avoid getting hit with the gooey mess. The girls and one boy giggled a lot while having fun with the flaming marshmallows. I adopted Charlotte's 2 girls, so everyone in the house has the same last name, which makes things easier. A month ago, during our regular date night, Charlotte surprised me again. She is a wonderful woman and brings me joy every day. That night, after we ordered dinner, I noticed she didn't want a glass of wine with her meal and instead asked for water. That wasn't a big deal, but then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small white plastic stick that I immediately recognized and handed it to me. Then I understood. She smiled as she handed it to me. "You might want to have a peek at this, dear."
Holy crap. She was pregnant.
My wife of less than a year, the woman that I share 5 children with, is going to have another. Wow, we had a busy time getting ready for the new baby. The biggest surprise of all was that Charlotte was going to have twins. Oh my, we would have 7 children. Good thing I got a promotion at work and now headed the legal division for the company. My salary and bonuses would nicely handle the finances needed to look after this gang, and we would be able to put aside money for education later. We bought a cottage on a lake, about 2 hours' drive from home, as a place to escape to for the summer months. We began renovating and expanding it to make space for 7 active and growing children. In hindsight, I am a very lucky man. A disastrous marriage was ended and a new one began, all in the space of 2 years. What was a very difficult time for me and my children, when Victoria decided to leave us for someone else, turned out fine when I was lucky enough to find a wonderful woman that I could love. And that loved me and the kids. Every morning, as we began the organized chaos of life with a large family, I took a moment to be thankful for the good fortune that I had when I met Charlotte and her girls, and now with 2 more to make our life complete. Our kids all got along and we were a family. And my wife was the hottest woman I knew. Victoria's life was what she made of it. She and Henry ended things not long after our divorce. It turned out that Henry was mostly interested in having affairs with married women, and soon after, he left Victoria for another woman he had lured away from her husband. Victoria continued to work as a book editor and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment where she could work. I heard she was dating, but I didn't know much else about her life. Once, when Charlotte and I were out with the kids while she was pregnant with twins, I thought I saw Victoria downtown. She couldn't have missed us walking together with the older kids holding the hands of the younger ones. We didn't stop to talk to her, but I know she was watching us as we passed by. She might have been thinking it could have been her walking with the kids. Maybe she was glad it wasn't her taking care of children and a husband.
Who knows?
As for me, I'm just happy to have a wonderful wife and all these kids. I wouldn't trade them or my life for anything. Second story, my girlfriend showed me a story about cheating tonight, and it brought up a lot of negative feelings. The story was very judgmental, and life is much more complicated than that. Sometimes, you meet the right person at the wrong time, and it's better to be with the right person than to be unhappy with the wrong partner. Last year, I cheated on my wife and asked her for a divorce. My soon-to-be ex knew our marriage was falling apart. She kept pushing back against what I wanted, which was really frustrating. She questioned why I wanted a new Jeep, why I wanted to take the kids to see hot air balloons, and why I needed to work on weekends or attend more conferences. It felt ridiculous to be questioned at home when I deserved respect everywhere else. We tried counseling a couple of times, but it didn't help. So, I asked for the divorce and told her it was mutual. She didn't want to be with someone who wanted to leave. Things were going as well as they could, given how emotional my ex can be, and we told the kids together. But I forgot to delete my recent photos, and she found pictures of me and a colleague sightseeing after a conference.
She freaked out.
My colleague, who is an excellent lab assistant, is smart and interesting. She graduated with high honors from a top university, even during the pandemic. But I didn't sleep with her before separating. Did I like her? Yes. Did I want to date her? Yes. Did I find her exciting? Yes.
Did I kiss her before separating?
Yes. But how could I know if my feelings were real without exploring them? Am I dating my colleague now? Yes. So, yes, people might say I cheated, because I kissed someone before telling my soon-to-be ex I wanted a divorce. But she went and told all her friends I'm a cheater, so none of the guys can hang out with me anymore. She forced me to use a special messaging app because my name upset her. She dragged out the divorce agreement, which could have been done in 3 months, and now it's been 15. I asked her about introducing our kids to my girlfriend, and she wanted me to wait until after the holidays, then wait 6 more months after that. I finally introduced my boys to my girlfriend over Labor Day weekend, so she could stay over with us in February, almost 2 years after we started dating. My ex says she wants what's best for the boys. But what's best is for us to be on good terms. Part of that is accepting my girlfriend and telling the boys about her so they don't feel awkward. But she gave me attitude about it, even though our marriage was already over. It seems like she only cares about what's best for the boys when it suits her. So yeah, I cheated. But considering everything, is it really cheating?